So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé MK. I'm Mr. O, and today Miss H and I will be discussing the second half of the tell-all of Before the 90 Days, as well as the first episode of the new season, Season 7 of 90 Day Fiancé. We're ready to close out Before the 90 Days and give you our first impressions of the new couples on the new season. Stay tuned and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good. So I have a question for you.
Yes, what's that?
Who is this? Who is this man?
I.
It's Omar.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, but at the same time, it's like yeah, that was pretty hilarious.
Right? That was my favorite part of the whole
I just didn't know how to
everything.
respond to you. I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Yeah. That was very awkward. Definitely one of the weirdest things that's ever happened at an airport pickup on the show ever. Yeah. But, yes, we'll get into that.
Okay, we'll get there.
Sure.
We'll get there.
Okay, so do you want to start off with the tell-all, which seems like a lifetime
I know,
ago.
it seems like it was so long ago, but I guess we got to go over it. We didn't go over it.
Yeah, we do. What I was thinking is we could do it kind of chronologically, I guess.
Cool.
So we started off with Tom and Darcy. Mm-hmm. Darcy finds out that Tom has been engaged twice.
Right, but did you ask?
Right.
Did you ask?
Oh, my gosh. How would she know? It's like that saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So how would you know to ask that? But,
Right.
I mean, I guess maybe Emma has a point that Darcy doesn't know Tom as much as she thinks. What I felt really irritating about that revelation is that he has been asked about weddings and things like that, and he said he hasn't thought much about being married. It's like, liar.
Right.
You've been engaged twice before.
Twice.
How have you never thought about being married if you have been engaged twice?
Yeah, that doesn't add up. I mean, he just everything he says doesn't add up. It's
No, definitely not. He's a liar.
very much so. Very much so. And I just could not get over the did you ask? Like, okay, were you born with a third leg? Like, can we think of other things that were asked?
Right. Well, I would have told you that if you had just asked me.
If you'd have just asked me. Yeah.
Right.
I would have told you that I murdered 3 guys, but you never asked if I did.
Oh my gosh. Right. So one of the other things that I think I'm going to categorize this as lie is that he said that he had a ring at one point that he was planning on giving to Darcy is in case he was going to propose. Yeah, where's that ring now?
Right. Why didn't Sean ask about that? Like, that seems like the immediate follow-up, right? Is, where is that ring now?
Where is it? Do you still have it? Because it made it sound like, because he said, I had a ring at one point. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it kind of makes it sound like at another point, he does not have that ring anymore. So where is it?
Right.
These are the questions you should be asking.
Right. Even like little things, like apparently he was going to bring the ring to Gran Canaria, but then he didn't bring it to Albania?
Right. Well, because he was already annoyed at that point, and he wasn't going to. Yeah, the engagement or the proposal wasn't going to happen if it wasn't in Gran Canaria.
Right. Well, he also was kind of cagey about whether the ring was an engagement ring or just an appreciation ring or something like that. He was like, I had a ring that I was going to give her. Now, was it an engagement ring? Were you going to propose to her, or were you just going to give her a ring?
Right. And then the whole thing, like the whole premise of he was just going to make a decision on the fly, whether or not the feeling moved to him. Then he would propose to Darcy. That just seems so bizarre. But I mean, maybe that's the reason why he's been engaged twice. Maybe the feeling moved him
just
two
moved
other
him.
times. Yeah, 2 other times before. So I don't know. It just kind of makes it seem like if he was engaged twice, he was making this decision without really thinking too much about it. Just like if it moved him to do it, just kind of seems like engagement isn't a big deal to him.
Right.
Being engaged is kind of like, whatever.
Right. It's like, super exclusive. And then we can always back out of that later.
The super exclusive Tom's Fiancé Club. Yeah, you and two others, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about fashion since
Okay.
Since Darcy won your
Right.
worst dressed award from last week.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with her and Stacy in glitter ball gowns?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tricky because like everybody changes. So they come in one
Yes.
thing and they leave in the other thing. And of course, like Darcy came in that Lady Gaga get up, like with the giant
Right,
shoulder things.
right. Yes.
And then
the
changed
sunglasses.
and then changed it to a ball gown. And then like, I don't know. It's every time I see it, it gets more and more frustrating and annoying the way they just snipe at each other and
Ridiculous.
are passive aggressive at each
Oh.
other with everything,
Yeah.
including like who's going to wear the sparklier dress. Like,
Oh my gosh. Do you really think that was a conversation? Like, what are you going to wear? I'm going to wear this glitter dress. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to wear mine too.
oh, a conversation? No, but it was definitely they both of them went in there thinking, I have to be glitterier and prettier than her.
But I feel like they have to somewhat coordinate or at least discuss what they're going to wear, right?
Well, because so many
Well,
times they match.
right. And I think like that was yeah, it's kind of one of those things where my sister, she has the same outfit as like three of her friends. And so they always have to, whenever they're going to an event together, what are you wearing? Just so they don't show up wearing the same thing. So maybe because they have so many similar clothes or
Right.
they have to coordinate.
They would.
But yeah,
Yeah, but they have to do that. They have to, on Wednesdays, we wear pink. They have to do that. Like,
oh gosh, yes. It's so ridiculous. Oh, so Darcy and Stacy, they're both on the couch again. Darcy is so self-centered. She doesn't really care about getting to know Tom unless it's in the context of her, which we talked about last week. But then also it comes out that she never asks Stacy about Florian or about her relationship. And then she just straight up says it's because she doesn't care.
yeah. Right. Which I do respect that on some level of there is a part of me that always wants to be like, well, I don't want to talk about that because I don't care about it. But you know,
Darcy keeping it real.
she's very much keeping it real, but that's how you also,
Yeah.
that's also how you end up alone because nobody cares about listening to your boyfriend stuff either. And you got to give it to get.
That's true. Yeah, you got to keep it balanced. I feel like my sister and I are somewhat like that too. There are things that she will ramble on about that it's hard for me to relate to because mostly it's work related. And it's like, I don't know the people she works with.
Sure.
And she can go on and on and on and on about that, you know? And Darcy's never met Florian before. So maybe there is some level of, okay, I know this person's important to you, but, you know, I don't know the guy.
Right. And sometimes
So-
it's like maybe she never asked about him because you just never shut up about him and there was nothing ever anything
Yeah.
to ask.
That's true. Yes, that's actually very true too. You probably know more than you want anyway. Yep, and then pretty much everybody's of the mindset that Darcy is out of control when she's drunk.
She's just a crying drunk. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but most people who are crying drunks, like at some point stop drinking because they know it's going to be, just like they're going to embarrass themselves. They're going to go out there and have a few drinks and then cry in front of a bunch of people they don't want to cry in front of. And so they kind of moderate that. Some people, that's just the way they react to alcohol.
I don't know. I kind of feel like that's her default. Unless she's always drunk, I feel like she's on the verge of tears most of the time.
Right. Well, that's drinking for you. Like it takes what you
Yeah.
are and just cranks it up.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, she probably shouldn't drink then because she really, she was crying later on when Avery's talking to her, and it was like, there's no reason for you to be crying.
Her and Avery was just a
Oh, my gosh.
infinite feedback loop of crying. So they just needed to get away from each other.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so that pretty much brings us to I wrote Jesse, Tim, Avery, Angela, Rebecca fight.
I mean, Rebecca didn't get involved as much in the green room.
Right. No,
Rebecca
she
didn't really get pulled in until they were on stage.
Right, right. So it starts off with Tim saying before Jesse even enters the room that Jesse trashed Darcy on social media 4 days ago. So enter Jesse, and then Tim and Avery just refuse to shake hands or really acknowledge his presence.
Right.
Which my thought on that is, okay, this guy is clearly the villain, and maybe he really is like this in real life. Like, but you should still be polite.
Yeah, my opinion is I think the production really goosed that. Like, I think it was definitely like he's on his way down, and then they started talking. So, what do you guys think of Jesse? He's an asshole, right? Like, totally, he's a jerk. Does he a total jerk? I mean, I wouldn't want to shake his hand. I'm sure like the seeds got planted like before he walks in,
sure.
and then they immediately bring him in the room.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people can afford to be polite. At least acknowledge him. Like, maybe not shake his hand, but you could just do like a hey. You know, minimal. I mean, get your point across without being the jerk yourself.
The curt little thing. Well, I mean, okay, so it was definitely a different steps of escalation where everybody just was in a competition to be more wrong than the last person as it escalated. Because yes, Tim and Avery refused to shake his hand and then immediately come in with the like, why the hell are you here?
Right.
Conversation, which is one of those, you know, not being polite, but also they were right. Like, he was there for one reason, and that was to make happen what happened, basically. But he's also playing super dumb. Like, there's no way he's that dumb that he does not know why they invited him. It has nothing to do about...
Oh, no, but he's trying to share his journey in America.
I'm not here for Darcy. I'm not here for Darcy. Like, you got invited for Darcy. Shut up. You know it.
Oh,
we know it. We all know it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, he was so smug and, you know, saying that he was only there to share his journey in America, which makes no sense. Right. And saying that he's giving the people what they want. They want to know about what he's doing.
Everybody wants to know about Jesse.
Yes, everybody wants that shower scene with Jesse.
Oh, we'll get to that. The American Psycho shower scene? Yeah, that one.
Oh my gosh, yes. But back to the argument. So then Angela comes barreling in and tells Tim and Avery to stay in their... Oh.
She comes in how? How does she come in?
Oh, like a wrecking ball.
Like a wrecking ball.
According to Ben, at least.
Right.
Who is, oh my gosh, he looks strangely caught in the middle most of this.
Oh my God.
He looks absolutely terrified. Then he says he was offended.
Of all the things to be offended about, he was offended that she said too many cuss words. Like,
oh my gosh.
Everything.
Well, Bible thumping Ben.
Okay,
does that surprise you?
Yeah, so she comes in and she, like, if Avery and Tim were at like a 7 of being like snarky and snipey, she comes in at like a 15. Just screaming
absolutely.
at everyone. Like, I could see, you know, defending Jesse and being like, wow, y'all kind of came out of nowhere and are ganging up with this dude, right? Like, that would have been deserved. But what she came in and did was just screaming and yelling and then just absolutely losing control. If Darcy loses control when she's drunk, she's just out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Angela saying for them to stay in their lane. I'm just like, oh, but what are you doing? You
come out of your lane to tell somebody else to stay in their lane.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part is when she pointed at Ben and was like, you better not be doing this too. And he's like, what the fuck?
Ben's like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God,
he looks so terrified. It wasn't me.
Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh. But that goes on for way too long.
Right. Avery just really, part of me feels like there's something there. But then part of me was just like, oh my gosh, she keeps saying she doesn't want to judge, but clearly she's judging. Yeah. Then all of a sudden she's crying, then talking about her abusive relationship. It's kind of like, well, how is this about you? She's saying she was triggered. She doesn't trust Jesse. Why does that matter? She's not in a relationship with Jesse. Who cares if she trusts him? But I think kind of the thought is that Avery has been abused in the past, and maybe that explains her sudden drastic changes in her life, like converting religions and then just living a completely different lifestyle than she has in the past.
Right.
So, I mean, it explains some things, but I don't know. It just seemed this is not the time and place to talk about her abusive relationship.
Right. Especially when it's with a person who, I mean, Angela was just to the point where she was so angry that she wasn't even making sense. Like what she was
Right.
yelling, it was just nonsensical.
Oh, but she fights for rightness.
Yeah, and she's like, well, she's also never seen a Muslim run their
Yeah.
mouth to the elderly.
Right. Right.
But like, it was just the stuff she was saying wasn't. It was like, sit down, little girl, but you're a married woman. Like,
Yeah,
one
those
am
two
I?
are opposite things. And why is you being a grandma have anything
what does
to
that
do
have to
with
do
this
with
argument?
anything? Exactly.
Yeah, but she wanted you all to know she has 6
Right.
grandchildren.
She should have been like, you have 6 grandkids. The appropriate response is, and I ain't one of them.
Yeah. So everybody's crying at some point. Mm-hmm. Darcy's crying. Avery's crying. Avery says she feels so close to Darcy. It's like, oh God, this should not be your role model. Avery, get a different role model.
So then they come up because all of this happens while I guess it's Darcy and Stacy and Tom on stage.
Yes.
Because then Sean comes up puts her ear and is like, oh, breaking news for the green room.
Yeah.
Just fresh in from the wire.
Who cares? Like, why does that matter to Tom and Darcy? If Jesse's not there for them,
Exactly.
why do they need to be involved in the argument? Right. So then at some point, Rebecca and Angela get into it. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is when they're all brought out on stage.
This is when they're on stage, and
Yes.
and Angela slaps Avery's hand away.
Right. I thought it was really funny when Caesar is you can see him in the background, and then he starts to get up, and then he sits right back down. Okay, so a lot of people have been thinking, oh, Caesar, he's, didn't really know what to do. He was just awkward. But I don't know if you noticed, he kind of saw someone off camera. And I think he thought it was like security. Or production or something. And I think he thought that, oh, they're handling it. So then he sat back down. So it just looked funnier than I think it
did. It really did.
was.
So
Because,
funny.
yeah, it did look like he's like, oh, okay. Crazy bitches. Like, let me get in the middle of this. But then sat his ass right back down.
Right. I also like interrupting everybody because this is Angela's go-to move. If anybody started talking, she just immediately interrupted them by yelling, "Listen!" Like she was the fairy in the Legend of Zelda
Sure.
game. It's like you can't interrupt somebody like listen, like
And then followed up with nothing.
yeah, followed up with nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Angela.
it was Rebecca made it's a rookie mistake. When somebody's get heated and they're really angry, the words you can never ever say to that person are calm down.
Oh, gosh. Yes. That's like calling a crazy person crazy.
Right.
You never want to do that.
As soon as you say calm down, it's gonna go higher.
Oh, it's going to escalate for sure. Oh, goodness. Angela is always constantly apologizing for her actions. If she just thought a little bit before she did things, maybe she wouldn't have to constantly apologize for her actions.
Right. Well, that's her go-to. She might as well get tattooed on her arm. Like, I apologize for what I did, but not for what I said.
Right. Because, yeah, definitely.
like the family
I think
motto.
she would. Right, definitely. Because I think she would say it's her delivery that she could always work on.
Which is wrong. What she said is terrible, too. She's
Right,
totally in the wrong
right.
with what she's saying.
But this whole thing to me was just such high school drama.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca goes on Instagram trying to back up Avery. So I think both of them kind of released some things about it. And Rebecca says that production was telling them to be outspoken and, commenting on other people's situations. So she's kind of blaming everybody, production, for them kind of getting in each other's business. And I'm sorry, I did not like Rebecca in the tell all. She was just all up in everybody's business. She was trying to act like the host. It made me it's like, you are not the person to be judging other people or making comments to other people.
Somebody did act like the host. Because the host wasn't doing it.
Someone had to. Yeah, I kind of wonder if production did that. They were like, okay,
Right.
maybe if we kind of crowdsource the hosting duties, they'll ask the tough questions that the real host doesn't. I do kind of wonder that, but it was still really annoying because it's like you don't want them to be giving advice. They're not the people to be giving advice.
No, they don't want the people there to give advice. The advice givers have no place in this show. That's not what the show is for. It is not for good advice.
Oh, so next up on the tell-all was Jesse's segment. Yes.
Jesse and his, it really looked like a serial killer movie in his shower.
Well, I thought it would look like a porn. I was like, why is this even happening? I could not figure it out. Yeah. And then, so Mr. O texts me after we had posted a picture on Thirsty Thursday of Jesse in the shower. And he texts me, he's like, are women actually into Jesse? I was like, yeah, some of them are. I couldn't figure it out.
He looks like such a weirdo. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's arguably a good-looking guy, and he works out. He has a nice body.
I could see if that's your type. I could see that kind of working. But then, like, as soon as he talks or
right,
right,
that's where he loses it for me. Yeah, yeah. So he goes on to speak about what he's been doing. He says that he's just so fortunate to have an opportunity to speak on the big stage, while production throws subtle shade at him, where they have him speaking to an audience of 10 at a senior center.
About was it like the power of love or something?
Oh, right. Yeah. How to find love.
How to find love or something like that.
I don't think they're trying to find love at this point.
No.
Or at least it's not a priority.
Right. I don't know. My understanding is that senior centers can be quite the dramatic places in terms of like hooking up and stuff like that. But like,
yeah.
I think at this point they're like, no, my love life is done. My sex life, maybe not so much, but.
Right. Oh, goodness. So, yeah, Jesse, he's starting to look a little aged from the first time we've seen him. I kind of made a note. Face is starting to look beat. Yeah,
well, it'll get that. And then they also gave us a scene where he was like extemporaneously talking to his friends at some sort of weird party that he put up. That it's just a bunch of actors like pretending like he had something smart to say. But like, and then they kept talking about like who reached out to who. And like Sean was like really digging to the bottom of, did Jesse get in touch with Darcy? Or did Darcy get in touch with Jesse? And I could not think of anything I cared about less than which one of those two texted the other one first.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But at the same time, I do kind of want to know who's the liar. So who do you think is lying about all of this? Do you think Jesse or Darcy?
I think they both are. I think they both are intermittently contacting each other. And so both of them at one point started a text conversation. And so both of them forget about it, about being the one who reached out.
So how about this one then, Mr. O? So at the end of the last season that they were on together, they had broken up. But then Darcy claims that even after they broke up, because he flew to New York just to break up with her, then she claims that after the breakup, he came to her hotel room and they had sex. And he maintains that that did not happen. So that was something that was, like everything else, kind of sort of addressed at the tell-all, but the truth was never found.
Sure.
Who would you believe in this scenario?
He says they didn't have sex.
Right.
I don't know. They're both untrustworthy people, and they both have a vested interest in their side of the story being right. He has to be better than Darcy, and he wouldn't submit to having sex with Darcy because he's better than that. He's moved on, and she's thirsty and would want to have sex with him.
Yes.
So it's definitely a Rashomon thing that I don't know that you can ever know the truth. Because the other thing about the text is, especially from Darcy's side, I bet she drunk texts and can't remember it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the next morning, somebody texts her and she's like, why are you texting me out of nowhere? And it's like,
right. I kind of think it's a little bit of that, where it's like she may have texted him and, not really remembered. And then he doesn't respond right away. Maybe he responds a few days later and she thinks that he's initiating.
Yes.
So, yeah, a little of A, a little of B, I suppose. So, do you think that we will see Jesse again?
Yeah, I think we do. Just because
Oh, God. Please no.
they're not gonna turn down that drama. Like he came and he came to trigger Darcy and he triggered everybody else. So
Right.
they're not gonna
right.
turn down that TV again.
Right.
That sweet, trashy TV.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we had Angela and Michael. So Sean looked annoyed at Angela until right before they started filming. For real.
Right.
Right?
Well,
or at least until they got started again.
and there's a lot of speculation about when they actually filmed that Angela scene. As to whether this was chronologically out of order and she might have come back the next day to film this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Michael is sweaty just watching their clips. And I feel so bad for him. His life really sucks. I don't know what he thinks America is going to be like, but nothing is going to make his life much better than what it is now.
No.
He can't have a social life in Nigeria.
Right.
It's, so what she made him quit his job because she just doesn't trust him being out and about. She wants like 24/7 access to him. So, I mean, what is his life? He said, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'll watch TV and then talk to her.
Yeah. No, it seems to be that her rules, quote unquote rule, is that he can't have a social life. Like he's not allowed to go outside with his friends. He's not allowed to leave the house. He has to just be there to talk to her, whenever she wants. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like, what kind of life is that? That sounds so terrible. So then she thinks that his lying to her is somehow related to her not being Nigerian.
Not even Nigerian. She even said white. Like, is it because I'm a white woman?
No.
That's like, oh my God. Like, I think there's a lot of issues with that in Angela that
Right.
we might explore a little bit more later.
Oh, unfortunately, why is she on this season? I know you were like, what? When I texted you about that. But yeah, I was surprised that they brought her back, and that's the speculation why they didn't show more of what Avery and Rebecca were saying happened behind scenes.
Right.
Having to do with Angela having physical altercations with multiple people. They were saying that they didn't want the audience backlash of having them on again. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Now, but you know what? I have to say that I am interested in the story because it is different than what they have. Now they're going to be in America. Is Michael's life really going to be that improved? Is he going to see that, this was all worth it, or he realized, oh, crap, my life still sucks. Might as well just be in Nigeria. There's no reason for me to be here with this overbearing, controlling bully who's running my life.
And her 6 grandkids, because he's going to be stuck in the house with those 6 grandkids the whole time.
But he might like that. Because, he's trying to be a dad.
Yeah, but I think her grandkids are probably a pretty big handful, to be diplomatic.
Right. I'm sure they are. So then Skyla gets on, and it just really bothered me how Angela feels so entitled to Skyla's egg.
Right. It is. I don't want to use the word lightly, but it seems kind of rapey. Like, that's her egg, and you have to stop asking for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you could just badger someone until they give in. That's gross.
But even when Skyla wasn't there, she was like, yep, that's my egg. Like, I'm going to get it. It's going to happen.
You're talking about...
It's like she said no.
No means no.
Yeah. No means no, Angela. Jeez. And then Skyla, her whole defense this entire time is saying, well, it will be my baby. And then Angela's saying, no, it'll be my baby because I'm toting it. It's like, does she not know scientifically what a biological mother
Right,
is.
or I mean, legally too, because she would
It's
be the
science.
surrogate in that case, more or less. Like that's not
Right.
the person who donates the egg
Right.
has legal rights to that child.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that was interesting because it's like, yeah, you know, if that wasn't the case, Kim Kardashian would have some major issues with her surrogate trying to,
Right.
you know, lay claim to the kids just because she happened to tote the eggs. So, yeah, just it's scary to me how confident she is. And Skyla seems like a pretty strong person who, you know, will stick to her guns, but I don't know.
I didn't like the way they asked, Skyla when she was on, they asked about her throwing the pie in Michael's face, and she was just like, well, that's getting off light with mama. And I was like, that's like, that like says to me, like, you shouldn't, she should
He's
not be part of your
definitely
life
seen shit.
anymore. Yeah. You've seen shit that like,
Right. She's seen shit for sure. So then everybody is asked to come back to stage, and then Avery asks who's going to be there. That was such a high school move. She wanted to know if Angela was going to be there specifically.
Right. Instead
she was like, oh, so who's going to be on stage with us? Oh, everybody? Who's everyone? It's like, oh my gosh, grow up. So Ben and Akinyi were next.
and Fidel was there.
Yes, Fidel.
Who was,
Fidel scares off other men.
he's not even that scary, man. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't think so either. But I mean, Ben. I mean,
To
look
Ben,
how terrified
yeah.
he looked on this tell-all. Just
Ben
in
was scared of
general.
loudmouth Angela. Like, of course he's going to be.
Oh, I know. Offended by her
right.
too.
She said naughty words. They were bad.
Oh my.
Of course, the part that bothered me the most is like the one thing Fidel liked about Ben. Like the one thing that he was like, oh, I actually like that.
Oh, yeah.
Was when he was super controlling about the drinking. He was like, oh, that's the kind of man that I'm looking for. It's like,
gosh.
oh my God.
So then Rebecca took that opportunity to compare Ben to her ex
Because everybody gets compared to her ex.
in front of Zied. Oh my gosh, I know. And in front of Zied. It's like, you probably shouldn't be mentioning him in front of Zied. You've already seen how crazy he is, and he does not want to hear about the ex. But then you keep on bringing him up.
Even if you're not crazy, nobody wants to hear about your
about
ex.
that.
Like, they really don't.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, my ex just gave me a big check or something like that. In which case, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right, right. Oh, my ex is paying for us to go on vacation. Oh, how generous of them. Great. Akinyi says she doesn't want to be controlled, but then she acts like such a child. So I don't know. She needs to put her big girl pants
Right.
on.
Right.
Fidel says that Benjamin didn't take his advice regarding the bride price negotiations.
Which I'm curious as to, they're very cagey about what they meant. Like, by what was your advice? Did you give
Right.
him a number? Because the man needed a number, and nobody would give him a number.
Yeah. Ben still doesn't know.
know.
He's going to be paying this off for life.
Forever. Like, which is funny because at some point somebody said something to him. He's like, well, I don't let people walk all over me. And I was like, no, you pretty much do. That was the whole trip to Kenya, was everybody walking all over you.
And it is funny because I'm looking back on this season, and there was a moment where, especially when this whole drinking thing came up, Ben is so controlling. It's like, I don't know. Maybe in that one moment, but for the most part, he's such a pushover.
Yeah.
I can't imagine him wearing the pants in this relationship.
No, he got married there because she said so. Like, he barely even fought back.
Yeah. And he's dealing with her pretty much insulting him on national television. Right. So, I don't know. He is not wearing the pants. Definitely not. So then we moved on to Rebecca and Zied. Not a whole lot with their segment. He says he hates not working.
So much hate. I hate
so much.
I hate so much.
I hate not
so
working.
much not work.
So much. So much. I'm going to kind of miss him
I
a
know.
little bit.
He had
Yeah, just a tiny bit. Not his face, but like his quotes.
right. Well, I mean, we got
They're
other
so
people.
funny.
We got some new broken English people that will hopefully bring some quality quotes.
I don't know. Kind of looking forward a second. I feel like it's just going to be an awkward blank stare.
Oh yeah,
I don't even think they have enough English to to really be funny about messing it up. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about this next group.
Good zone. You gotta hit the sweet spot.
Yeah. So Zied plans on going to school in the U.S.
Air conditioning school, right? Didn't he say that? Oh, that was an Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, who's paying for that?
It's got to be Rebecca. He doesn't have any money.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. And then she says that she doesn't see any red flags. It's like, oh my
I would
gosh.
rather be paying for air conditioning school than paying like for whatever for him to sit on his ass at home. Because he can't work yet. There's no way he can work yet. It's going to be like a few, it's almost another year before you can get a work permit.
Well, I mean, let's be real here. Like, is she really even going to qualify for this K-1 visa? And if she does, I feel like it's going to be years from now. So this is something that's like, oh my gosh. He could have probably already got his PhD back in Tunisia by the time they get their visa approved. So, I mean, maybe you should start school now.
I did think it was funny how at one point she was like, they talked about the lesbian relationship, but and then Rebecca was like, oh, his parents cannot find out about it. And Sean was like, you're on TV? They're gonna find out about this?
Oh, don't worry. They don't watch TV.
She's like,
they live in a hole. There's no electricity down there.
Not only is there no electricity, they don't even know anybody who does have electricity. So we don't have to worry about it.
Oh my gosh, right. And no one there speaks any kind of English. They have no idea what's going on. Yeah, no one could ever recognize our son. They wouldn't make the connection that they're the same
they didn't know
people.
that their son was on a TV show and they're not interested in watching it at all.
Yeah. Those cameras, no, they were just like, "Oh, these are his new friends." He's in
This
a
is
club.
how all Americans travel. They have cameras behind them all the time.
Right. Oh, goodness. So she also says no one close to her supports her relationship.
Not surprising.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, okay. No new news.
Yeah.
I felt like no big reveals or anything like that. Okay, so this is the point where my internet started just being so crazy. And I had major technical difficulties. So literally it paused like after every 15 seconds. So the rest of this was difficult, so I may not have caught everything.
I'm curious as to what your impressions were then on your broken cutoff thing, because from here on out it was Cesar Maria.
Okay, yeah, I got that part. He looked really sad and depressed. I got that he didn't think he had been scammed, and then he's still talking to her like they're together, like he was calling her baby girl, which gag. And then asking her if she was seeing anyone. It's like, okay, I'm confused. You guys aren't supposed to be together, so why does it matter if she's been seeing someone else? And why are you calling her baby girl? Bleh.
I was surprisingly close. I mean, I'm not Team Caesar, but I really was really leaning toward Maria's side, honestly, in it.
Oh, I kind of felt so too. I don't know. I feel like she, in some maybe even more explicit ways. I mean, okay, let's be real here. She was very explicit with him when they broke up. And it's just, he's so desperate. It doesn't seem, she could have told him, hey, I am using you for money. I have no interest in you. You are not my type. I am not physically attracted to you. I will only pay attention to you if you send me money. And he's like, oh, she is into me if I send her money. Okay.
Right.
Because that seems to be, like, I feel like it wouldn't matter if she told him or didn't. He's going to come up with the same thing on his own.
There's no way you don't know. I mean, she told him enough to know. And her point was right, is that he's getting exactly what he wants. He wants all the pity and all the sadness and all the, oh, are you sure? And he wants to feel, he likes that. And and especially because he doesn't know anything about her at all. He just likes that she is pretty and she is blonde, and he can say she's my girlfriend. That's all he gets out of it. That's all he wants out of it. It's almost like he's like the stereotype of the sad guy at a stripper club that thinks the strippers are into him. And talks about how that's my girlfriend, and like, no, that's the stripper. That's not your girlfriend.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I can see that definitely, because I mean, he's definitely delusional. He says that she is his first love. It's like, dude, you're like close to 50. How is this your first love?
Right.
And I think the rumor is that he has children too, or at least a child. So I would think that you would love people that you've actually been intimate more than Maria. At least one of them, right?
Somebody you've met.
Yeah. But I did catch that Michael says that Caesar is a strong man.
He's not a strong man.
I was like, Michael, how would you even know what that looks
Well,
like?
he's a weak man's idea of a strong man. Like,
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that makes sense why he would say that. Yeah, that makes sense.
like,
Yeah. And then I got that everybody wants him to move
yeah,
on,
because
but it doesn't look like he's going to.
no, and you're right. She basically is telling him, "We're done. I'm never gonna love you. If you want to keep sending me money, I will keep taking your money." But that's about it. Like she said so many times, just
Right.
find somebody there. Stop looking at us. Just find somebody
Yeah.
there. And he's still like, "But I love it." And he can't say any reasons. It's again just like everybody else. Why do you love her? I love her so much. Why do you love her? Because it's such a deep love. And like, so he has nothing.
Okay, so I think that wraps up. Okay. Oh, the new season. So we had messaged each other before, and we said that we would come up with kind of like our first impression of all the couples. So we could do that as we go along, maybe first thing. We said we'd try to summarize it in a word or phrase, short phrase. So did you do your homework, Mr. O?
I did.
Okay, good. All right, so who do you want to start with?
Let's just go the order we've introduced. Let's start with Anna and Marcel.
So what did I say about them? I said, oh, okay, so my first impression was lost in translation.
Mine was kind of boilerplate.
Okay, interesting. All right, so we're introduced to Anna, 38. She's from Nebraska, and she is
She's
beekeeper.
Bees.
Yep, buzz. So she meets Marcel.
So I thought they did a
Turkey,
really good job.
who is also a beekeeper.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job of giving us an image to start everybody's story off. That's
Yes.
very distinctive and goes, oh, the bees.
Right.
So this end started with bees, right?
Well, I do think that's kind of a major thing because if you watching all their segments, it seems like the only thing she really cared about was that he really understood her beekeeping. And I could kind of understand, having such an interest that is so unique, finding someone else who also shares that interest. It's pretty exciting to have that in common with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
It's like me and my ever quest to find someone who enjoys scuba diving.
right. Well, I mean, and we're both we both teach, but we're both the only teachers in our building that teach what we teach, and so it's similar to that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like to go out and be like, oh, somebody
Right.
else. Like, I can discuss.
Right. One of
Yeah.
us. One of us. I do think it's funny that Anna says, being a beekeeper, she gets stung, but, the pain is worth it. Because I think that's so
That's
obviously symbolic of her relationships. Anna is a masochist, is my conclusion.
Well, it's funny because but it works the opposite way. Because my understanding of beekeeping is after you get stung about 50 times, you stop feeling it, and they don't even there's nothing, right?
They don't even
So that
notice.
means every time you get stung, it hurts a little bit less. I feel like this goes the other way. Like
So Anna is bringing in three
kids and 2 teenagers.
Yep. Yes. Joey, Gino, and Leo. Joey is 15, Gino is 14, and Leo is 6. She says that Leo is her favorite. I was like, are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, when the other
out
2 are
loud?
teenagers and they're being a pain in the ass, then yeah, right now I like hanging out with him better.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that that's her favorite. And I am not naive to think that parents don't have favorites because I'm sure they do, right? But I don't think you're allowed to say it out loud.
I don't know.
That's
I
it.
felt like the 2 older boys, the 2 teenagers, I know them. Those are very
Oh
familiar
my gosh. Yes,
boys to me.
there are
Yeah.
students. Yes, I know. And I know they're going to give Marcel a
Oh,
hard
yeah.
time.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've already said they think he's weird because he doesn't speak English. So it's like, I can see a lot of oh, Marcel, why don't you tell the mailman to fuck off?
Right.
Yeah, it's a good
Right,
thing.
that's how we greet each other here.
Yeah, fuck you.
Like, I have no idea why you said that, Mom.
So
Why are you blaming
I
me?
see a lot of I see a lot of them taking advantage of this situation, definitely. Oh, I thought it was interesting that she says she doesn't want to date American men anymore because they just want to send dick pics.
Which is a conversation we have had a lot.
I know. I think, okay, so just side note, having nothing to do with them. I think it is kind of funny how many unsolicited dick pics I receive in the dating world. And I don't know if guys really know that a lot of women do this, but we share them with our friends to make fun of them. Do you still want to send dick pics knowing that that is what's happening? So
Here's the thing,
Just
though.
side note.
This is just like the Nigerian mail scam. It's gotta work sometimes.
Oh, it
It's
absolutely
gotta work sometimes,
does. Actually,
or else you wouldn't do it.
Actually, it's really funny. So I was talking about Tinder with some of my friends, and I was saying, oh yeah, I came across this Tinder profile, and it was literally just one profile picture, and it was like a picture of a dick. So I'm like telling my man whore friend about this, and he like his, I could see the wheels in his brain like turning, and he was like, that's actually a really smart idea. You put it up front what you're about, and if someone swipes right, that means they're into it. He's like, maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's got to work.
But I mean, your success rate has to be what? Like, if you get 1 out of 100, 1 out of 200, you're gonna be doing pretty well.
That's all you need, want, right? Yeah, that's all you need. You just need one, right?
I don't know. I just think even that's going to be pushing it, because you're going to have someone who's like, even if that's what they're there looking for, they're going to be like, I can't be the one who was like, I just saw a dick and it was like, yes.
I don't know. I think some women are shameless. My other more innocent
there are
friend,
plenty of guys whose whole body you can see that it's still abundantly clear what they're there for, and you get the whole picture that you'd swipe on before you did the disembodied dick.
Yeah. So, I have a friend who's a little bit more innocent, and the first time he ever joined Tinder, I think one of the first people he ever matched with was this very aggressive woman who was trying to come over to his place with a bottle of wine. He was just like, is this normal? I don't know what's happening. I think she's trying to have sex. I don't know. I was like, yeah. So I think it's both ways. I do think there are aggressive women who are just looking to get laid. And so I think those are the ones who are going to be responsive to your one profile dick pic.
Yeah, I would assume, not swiping on dicks myself, that, it's kind of like...
We swipe for days.
I did too. But if somebody has like a profile picture, it's just a really up-close picture of their face.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm not
into
that either.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you just saw that, I'd be like, what's wrong with the rest of you that's what you thought I needed to see?
Oh, I could have a whole entire podcast on my theories of profile pictures. Like, if you only have pictures of you in a hat.
You're bald.
Yes, exactly. Or forehead down, you are bald. So, I mean, there are things. Yeah. But moving on. Back to Anna Marcel. Oh, the language barrier.
Right. Which is, so that's another Paul and Karini. They need the app the whole time.
This is worse than Paul and Karini. This is the worst I've ever seen. It's so bad. I don't know how they're going to get through anything. It's really, really, really bad. So going back to the awkward friend.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought it was going to be worse than that. I thought that was going to be like the twist of the story.
Right. Like, here's my brother.
Yeah. And it's like, and
he's coming to live with us too.
Yeah. But some guy gets off the plane and they go hi and they greet each other. They like shake hands and she's like, who is this? And he was like, oh, it's Omar. And she's like,
wait, but first of all, it took a while for him to even understand what she was saying.
Right.
So he just stares at her blankly like, yeah.
And the thing was, so did Omar. Like, Omar's English is just as bad. He's just like standing there awkwardly, like not saying anything. It's like staring at nothing.
Did production send Omar over there? Because I feel like, what was Omar trying to get out of this? Just to awkwardly stand next to his newfound friend.
Yeah, I assume they had just spent, however many hours on the flight from Istanbul to Chicago, right?
Oh gosh, that's a pretty long flight.
That's a really long flight, right?
Yeah.
And then, which was weird because I thought he would still hop on a connection and get to Omaha because he was in Nebraska. She's not far from Omaha, but she drove, and I looked it up, 7.5 hours to Chicago.
Yeah, that is really far. That's probably cheaper
Yeah.
because Chicago's more of a major airport.
Oh yeah, obviously you were definitely getting from Istanbul to Omaha, but it would have to be another.
Right.
And there's a good chance he wouldn't be like the next connecting flight might not be till the morning, and so she's just like, well, I'll just drive out there.
Yep. So friend Omar, the last we'll see of him? Question mark.
I don't know. Yeah, but I was definitely expecting that to be the twist, to be like, oh, this is the person I brought with me. He's living with us, and you'd be like, but that didn't happen. He just walked away.
That was so weird. It was hilarious, but it was very weird. Yeah. So, we definitely skipped. We skipped a lot of stuff. So before Marcel gets there,
right.
She's having conversations with her friend. She's also drinking with her friend because this is something that's potentially going to be an issue because Marcel is Muslim. He doesn't drink, would prefer it that she didn't drink. But then I thought this was odd. He says that if she does drink, he wants her to do it in front of him. That's
Caught
so
that
weird.
too. That is
Yeah,
weird.
if you don't approve it.
It's something that, yeah, but it's like I want to be. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna keep an eye on her because it's something that people who aren't comfortable or not even comfortable with drinking, but not used to other people around them drinking, is they're like, oh, I feel bad about if you're doing it when I'm not there. And I'd be much more comfortable if I could see what you were doing the whole time you were drinking, which doesn't make any sense to, a person who grows up in a culture or is experienced with a culture where people just drink, casually and all the time.
I think they're setting this up where this is going to be a potential issue because she says that, she's in America. Like, this is our culture here. Our culture is to drink.
In the Midwest, too. She brings that up.
She says at some point that she needs challenges in her relationship. Huge eye roll. That goes back to I believe that Anna's a masochist. Why would you want unnecessary challenges in your relationship?
Right? Like, it's one thing if you're like exercising and you're like, I actually want to work hard. I want things to be difficult.
Yeah.
Not so much when you're like finding your lifelong relationship.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious too, like, what if they have a game plan for improving their language skills so they're able to communicate with one another. Mm-hmm. Like, are they going to? One of them is going to take a class. Are they going to, do something? Get a tutor.
Right, because they should.
How are they going to learn?
They should both be working on it. It's a little bit. It's going to be, I would say, easier for him, but he's going to be, at least for a little while, with the immersion, he's going to be somewhere where everybody speaks English, so he'll probably pick it up quicker. But I don't know. I think it's pretty bullshit when you marry somebody that speaks another language and you never learn that language.
Right. Yeah. So the communication is bad. Anna says that, he pretends to know what I'm saying, but I don't think he does. You're right. I don't think he does. He definitely has this wide-eyed look, like shocked look on his face, like most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. He just looks like, what's happening right now? And I really think that's what he's thinking. Like, what are they saying? What's going on right now?
And there comes a time, and I don't know if it's within these 90 days, when that for a little while is kind of like new and exciting, and like, I'm not sure what's going on. Ooh, all this stuff, and I'm kind of lost. And then at some point that turns and just becomes extra frustrating and not. I
was going to say, exciting. I'm frustrated when I can't understand what's going on, and I'm expected to. Mm-hmm. Right? It's one thing, like, just to tune out, people speaking a different language in the background. Sure. But if you're expected to be participating and understanding what people are saying, I'm sure that's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I will end with, I thought it was interesting that it looked like he was wearing a ring already when she picked him up from the airport.
But, like, that's a common theme. Like, I guess people wear fake wedding rings now. Because we brought that up in other episodes. Rebecca always wore a ring on her finger. Corey wore one. Like there was people
Yeah.
who would wear a ring. I don't know.
Anything else you'd like to add to Anna and Marcel?
I'm curious to see. I put boilerplate because it just kind of felt like the standard story, and I wonder if there's going to be in the next couple weeks if there's going to be some kind of twist that like ups the drama, ups the ante.
Right. I feel like they've definitely set up potential issues like the boys giving him a hard time, the language issue, the drinking. So I definitely feel like they have enough going on just without production having to prod them too much. Although I think production would probably prod the boys a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
I could
definitely.
see that. Yeah.
Michael and Juliana.
Okay. My phrase for them, gold digger meets douche.
Oh, okay. So
Was that yours? Is that what you
no,
have to
it
think?
wasn't. I saved gold digger for a different one. The one I have for this one that think at me, suspicious timeline.
Okay, interesting. Yes, expand upon that
Okay,
because I don't think I picked up on a suspicious timeline.
Oh, I did so much. Juliana is 23.
Okay.
He met her when she was 20.
Yes.
He got divorced 2 years ago.
Oh. Interesting. I didn't pick up on that at all. But I mean, at the same time, maybe they were separated when that happened.
It could be. It was that immediately stuck in my head as like, wait a second, how long ago did they get divorced? And
Yeah.
and especially a divorce
I
where
definitely agree.
they have shared custody, and clearly he makes all the money, right?
Right.
But she had the house.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Then that kind of goes back to didn't he say he had rented that apartment for a really long time?
Yeah, so that means when when they divorced, he moved out and got an apartment, right?
Right.
But
But I thought he said that he had been renting an apartment for like more than 2 years. I thought he said 4, but I think that's just off the top of my head. So, and also I would say the reason why I wouldn't think necessarily is because it seems like he has a pretty good relationship with Sarah, his
Right.
ex-wife, and she didn't seem bitter too much against Juliana. I mean, she had like legitimate concerns.
right, I think
but, I mean-
that's going to be something that comes up. I think the
Oh, I'm
relationship
sure.
between Sarah and Juliana is going to be
Yes.
a huge part of that storyline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they even show in the previews that they're going to have interviews with the 3 of them. So it seems like if you have an interview with all 3 of them are involved in whatever storyline is going on.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of dynamics with his divorce, and that's going
Right.
to be come up a lot this season.
Yeah.
I mean, aside the fact from he's totally douchey, but
Right. I was just going to say. So Michael is trying to describe himself, and then he even says that, I don't know what else to say without coming off as a douche. And it's like, oh, at least you're kind of self-aware.
right?
Like, as much as he does come off as a douche, and I kind of think he is a douche.
Right.
I do think he is very generally aware of how people are going to perceive him, how he comes off, his relationship comes off. The only part that I thought he was even remotely delusional is much, much later in their segments when he's talking about, is she just using me? Is she just here to get her green card? The probability of her leaving me is extremely small. And I was like, really? But why? Why are you so arrogant about that? But I would say, other than that, everything else, I felt like he's somewhat self-aware, and that's
right.
usually
Right.
not the common thing.
Yeah, it was funny that he was like, I don't want to sound too douchey, and then they edited it together. So like 3 seconds
Yeah.
later, he was like, look at my watch. Like,
Oh, so true.
which
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly paused and tried to figure out what kind of watch it was, but couldn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know much about watches, so I was like, all right, cool. It looks like a space age watch. I don't know.
Watches are a tricky thing, and it's not like his Porsche or something like that where you can just tell by a glance that it's a ridiculously expensive watch. Like I could show you, so I do this with my students all the time. I could show them some like watches that are like, $15,000, $20,000 watches, and it doesn't look Like if you didn't know it was an AP or something, you would just be like, that's just a watch.
Yeah.
They don't always have like big diamonds and things
Right,
like that.
right. So the reason why I say gold digger is because Michael reveals that he has given her access to credit cards, and she has spent a decent amount of money. And then he says that he pays or gives her money because he doesn't want to lose her. Oh gosh, Michael, you have fallen in the trap.
There's gonna be some other rich dude at a yacht party that's better looking than him and skinnier than him. He gained a lot of weight. That was weird too, right?
Yeah, his pictures definitely, he looked a little bit better in his pictures. I think he's one of those people that like he hits a certain age and it all is downhill from there.
Right. And and the reason she's not in America already is because she couldn't even get a tourist visa.
Which I thought was interesting that, okay, well, let's get married if you just want to come visit. That doesn't make any sense.
He's trying to lock that down. He really is trying to lock that down.
Definitely. Oh, I think he needs to take a tip from Tim and get some eye masks. He had some big bags under his eyes. Speaking of him looking older fast, aging quickly.
Right. Well, because he was 42, right? And he has, because that was another thing that popped out of my head. 42. He has 2 kids, which is the reason he can't move to Brazil and jet set around it.
Right.
Because, and he did seem, in what we saw, he actually seemed like a decent father. He was like good rapport, good relationship with the kids.
Yeah.
At one point, he'd said that him and his ex-wife had kids relatively young.
Right.
The kid's like 10, which means he had kids in like his early 30s, which is not my definition of relatively young.
No. But he did say they got married in their 20s.
Yeah.
He said like mid-20s-ish.
I don't know. Which I think it's different when you're that rich. Like the timelines get changed. But like to me, mid to late 20s, mid 20s, that's like the normal time that people tend to get married for the first time.
Right. So let's talk about his kids, Max and Cece. I love these kids.
Cece was wearing a lot of lipstick, right?
I don't think I paid too much attention, but Cece is just, you could tell, daddy's princess for sure. Mm-hmm. Yep. She wants to take Juliana to the American Girl store, but not for Juliana, even though it's her birthday. Yeah.
What 23-year-old Brazilian model doesn't want to go to the American Girl store?
Oh, well, because Cece's going to be like, this is like my new best friend.
Oh, yeah. She's definitely. Well,
she's my buddy.
Yeah. And
they said closer to their age
closer
than
to their age than dad's age.
Mm-hmm.
And Max wants to have like a good looking, friend to play with too.
Yeah. They say that she's more like the age of a babysitter.
Right.
Than she is a stepmom.
I think she might weigh less than Max too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Max would crush her. Yeah. Max is definitely, it's funny too because no one else in the family is really chubby.
Yeah.
I think he'll grow out of some of it.
I do too. It's a combination of, Max is bigger and she is just wafer thin.
Oh yeah, she absolutely is. So it will be interesting because I just don't really see someone like Juliana, and we don't know anything about her. We haven't seen her in real life, but I don't know. I feel like young people who are, modeling and things like that, they just seem like not really interested in being parents. So it'll be interesting to see if she really cares.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he does. He's like, she's not going to be a parent, and that's fine. And which is all good. That also comes up later. There's another couple in here that's kind of like a mirror to this couple, actually, that we'll get to.
Oh, interesting. I'll be interested to see what you think of that one. All right. So that's all I have for them. What about you?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So moving on to Tanya and Sinjin. So Tanya's from Connecticut, and Sinjin is from Camps Bay, South Africa. Mm-hmm. So what do you have describing them?
The one
word, or your first impression?
Mismatch.
Really? I actually thought yes and no. So surface level, I did think they had some things in common, like the fact that they were both bartenders.
Right.
But personalities, yes, definitely very different. So it was actually funny is I do think they're very similar. My first impression is I said, goddamn hippies. Because if you think about all the things that they're both into, it's very hippie lifestyle.
Right, but they're into, yeah, but I say mismatched because I agree with that, but they're into different aspects of the hippie lifestyle.
Yes, that is true. She is more into like activism and, living off the land.
And responsibility. Like,
Right. Yeah, Mother Nature and all that. But he seems like someone who just kind of like lives freely. Free
right.
love.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Let me
very
go
much a free spirit.
Wander the woods. Yes, free spirit.
I'm not going to worry about paying my bills, man. Why are you harshing me down? God, you always talk about jobs and shit.
Yeah.
Where she was like, his flight landed 10 minutes ago, and I'm not there, and oh my God. Like, she freaked out on the way to the airport.
Right? Oh, I thought that was kind of funny because it's like, well, it's your own damn fault you were late.
So much.
Like, how much time were you spending getting ready? I mean, I understand that you're upset that you're late, but you have only yourself to be upset with.
I mean, she had to set up her sex corner. That
Oh my gosh.
takes like 3 seconds.
Just throw a bunch of lube and whatever vibrators in the
There's
corner.
a lube, a vibrator, and some condoms. Like, it wasn't like...
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
This show is so prudish sometimes. I think it's funny. Like, the idea that she would, when she's going to pick up the guy that she plans on marrying, the idea that she would have, like, lube and condoms on the table was something that they had to be like, tell us about that. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they, oh gosh, they had that scene where she was in the sex shop and checking the intensity of the vibrator.
Right.
I was like, oh gosh.
I'm gonna need more than this. This is
Oh yes, this is good. This is a good amount of intensity. It's like, oh god, I don't want to know this about you.
the first thing we knew about her was that.
I know. Well, I mean, she said she's a wild woman. It's like, all right, okay. So, they are planning on living with Missy, who I feel like is going to be a character on this show. So, Tanya's mom in her shed.
In the shed. They're going to live in the she shed.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It looks just disgusting. Their backyard looks like there's a garage sale currently in process.
Yeah.
The shed itself was cluttered and the mattress was dirty.
Dirty mattress.
It's like, ugh, you guys are going to live here? Blah. But I don't think St. John's going to care. He doesn't seem like...
No, he doesn't seem like the person that would be like, a dirty mattress. Ew.
Yeah, you expect me to sleep on that? Yeah, he'd probably be like, oh, let me just sleep outside, like amongst all like the random clutter you have hanging out back here. Yeah, he seems like that kind.
Yeah, and it's funny because, well, first of all, she's already like just looking past a bunch of red flags.
Oh gosh.
She's already convinced, like, well, it's a argument, the kids versus no kids thing. It's an argument so many couples just like, well, we'll set that aside for now. And it's like, that's coming back. That doesn't go away.
Well, okay, I think how some people resolve it is like, and this definitely sounds like their situation, is she thinks that he doesn't want to have kids now. And so to her, it's more of a timing situation rather than a does he or doesn't he.
Right.
And like, I think that's kind of more on him. Like, he may be someone who doesn't want to have kids ever. So he instead puts it kind of in the far future. So it just doesn't apply right now. So
Right.
he's just like, oh, it's not that I don't want to have kids. I just don't want to have kids right now. But then this is how he's going to live his life.
Until he's 45 and he can't have kids. Right.
Right. So, I mean, I do think it's something that this is like a common couples issue, but I think like this is how couples kind of like justify it to themselves or get them to a place where they can kind of move on from it. But I do kind of see, because she seems a little baby crazy. She definitely came off a little baby crazy.
Yeah. Well, especially, and the other red flag that she mentioned is, I wonder if it's going to come up in the show. She's like really scared that he's racist.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I wrote that too. And I thought that was interesting because it's like, oh, she is a feminist activist. Like, this is not going to go well with someone who is like, and
yeah, this is somebody who has definitely been in a Black Lives Matter march. Like,
right. Oh, absolutely. And I feel bad because I think how she's going to come at it is going to be very, like, not very open to, like, how he grew up and, like, understanding that it's not because he feels less about these people. But, I mean, if you grew up hearing this, it's going to be difficult for you to think a different way naturally. Mm-hmm. And it is going to require
it requires actual conscious
yes.
effort on your part to change yourself. Absolutely.
Multiple times, not just once. And I don't really see her as having the patience and understanding to continue having those conversations. I can see her just kind of turning around and just being pissed that he thinks that way in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, you're so ignorant. How could you think that? It's not like that at all, So it'll be interesting to see if she handles those things with the right kind of temperament.
Right.
Yeah. That they can actually have productive conversations about this.
Mm-hmm. And so we also met Tanya's sister, who was another interesting character.
She looks exactly like Missy. Like, Tanya does not look like mom and sister, but mom and sister looked pretty much the same.
Right. But this is a sister that, in the conversation, at some point called her a professional bitch.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's going to be some sister issues that come up too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tanya thinks her sister's a know-it-all, and it definitely sounds like her sister's freely dispensing advice here. Mm-hmm. But I thought was interesting is that the sister asks Tanya, did you share your plans with Sinjin? And then I don't know if it was editing or what, but she never really answered.
Right. It was just like long pause.
Yes, it was long pause and then like moving on. It's like, oh my goodness. So did you share your plans with Sinjin? Did you tell him what the timeline is for having kids? I don't think she did.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some interesting things with this couple. I think I read an article on New York Times about a writer that was following them around and trying to determine how staged everything is or how fake these relationships are.
Okay.
And so they interviewed Tanya and Sinjin, and they also followed them around the day of the pickup. And one thing they had said was that Sinjin and Tanya both have their own side businesses that they are going to be trying to promote. And so that is one of the motivations for being on the show. So their relationship may be real, but they want to be on the show for, promoting their business. And then they also said that, some of the things are staged or reenacted, I should say. Yeah. Reenacted a couple times. So, I mean, those are like not new things, but it'll be interesting to see where they end up at the end of this.
Some of the reenactments are pretty obviously reenactments, but...
Right.
That's okay.
Okay. Next couple, we have Emily, 29 from Portland, Oregon, and Sasha, 32 from Moscow, Russia. First impression.
No, he's from Volgograd.
Oh, okay. I think they were living in Moscow. Is that what it is?
No, or maybe he was from Moscow and they were in Volgograd. They were definitely in Volgograd.
Okay, yes. Yeah. So I think, so he was from Moscow, but then, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, you're right. Their scenes were not in Moscow.
Yeah, because it was like, that. Yeah. But so what was your impressions here?
First impressions was Dumb and Dumber.
I just put naive.
I cannot figure out which one of them is dumber. They're both really dumb.
Both really dumb. They really are.
Yes, so dumb. Okay. The idiocy starts off with Emily explaining why she moved to Russia. Mm-hmm. She had read a lot of Russian literature and had a romanticized view of Russia, so she decides to move there.
Bullshit. She has never finished a Dostoevsky novel or a Tolstoy novel, ever. I cannot imagine her getting through Anna Karenina at all.
I think maybe she read one of the translated versions, but even still.
The Reader's Digest version?
Cliff Notes?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I feel like she may have watched a movie.
If you have read any like classic Russian literature, That is not an advertisement to go to Russia. That is not a good. I think she saw the Nutcracker once and was like, that.
Yeah, I can't even think of what she read or watched that she had this romanticized view of Russia.
Right. I was going to read The Brothers Karamazov and be like, yep, Russia's
Oh
a
my
magical
goodness.
place.
Yeah, so she was a party girl, a big raver, which I think explains maybe either, well, it's kind of like
Yeah.
what came first, chicken or the egg. Is she an idiot because she did that, or did that cause her idiocy? I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, she goes to Russia to teach English. She meets Sasha at the gym.
And she didn't even go to Moscow or St. Petersburg. She went to Volgograd.
Yeah.
Open
Okay.
it-
Yeah.
open
So
it-
there's that too.
Open an atlas first,
Okay.
man.
Yes. So she's disillusioned immediately about. I don't even remember the city. You need to keep on saying it, Mr. O.
Volgograd. It used to be Stalingrad. They changed it back to Volgograd. It was Volgograd, and it was Stalingrad. It was something else first. Oh, whatever. That's what it is. Volga, like the
Okay.
Volga River, and then
Okay,
Grad,
that
like
makes
city.
sense.
Volgograd.
Okay. Yes. So she's in Volgograd. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did I say it?
Yes,
yeah,
that's
did
it.
Yes. Teachable moment. And she is not liking life there at all.
Because she speaks no Russian.
Oh, absolutely no Russian.
Like, couldn't even. They had the probably fake scene set up in a
Right.
store where she couldn't even order tea.
Yes, yeah, and that was just really bad. Can't speak any Russian. She doesn't have any friends there. I would think that you would, if you're teaching English there, wouldn't you have at least your other teacher friends?
Yeah, you'd think you'd meet people from the school, but they could be from who knows where, and who knows what they're teaching, and they're not party girl ravers either. Like, they are probably
goodness.
like, goody smart people who are like,
Who actually researched and chose to be in the country?
exactly, and knew what they were getting into, right? And probably spoke a little bit of Russian.
Right. So she joins the gym just so she could have human interaction, and that is where she meets Sasha.
Sasha, who's just, I don't know, the pictures were widely varied. He goes from being
Yes.
pretty cut to like extremely cut to back to pretty cut. Like,
I was like, is this the same person? I kind of felt the same way. And then she says he has gorgeous eyes. And I was like, it looks like he has a lazy eye. Is that just me?
kind
But
of
there were
did.
some shots where I was like, he kind of has, yeah, but he looked different in all his pictures. So I was like really
Right.
confused.
It was like, I just feel like he sometimes it's arm week and his arms are really buff, and then it's
yeah.
ab week and his abs are really great. He just takes all
leg day.
all of his shirtless selfies, all of them,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
understand is the other thing that comes after the dick pics. It's just dick pics and shirtless selfies, right?
Oh, yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah. Okay, so Sasha, I don't know which one's the dumb one and which one's the dumber one. So maybe Sasha's the dumber one? No, it's got to be Emily, because Sasha, I feel like, is just dumb for putting himself in that situation. But Emily is like choosing to be a part of Sasha's dumb life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say Sasha because, well, and we could bring this up. He has 3 babies with 3 women. Well, Emily will be the third.
Yes.
Right?
She's the third wife
The third wife.
to the third child.
Yeah.
Yes. At
So-
32. He is 32.
32.
Yes.
Another person that has never heard of a condom, apparently.
Oh my goodness.
But so that's dumb. But to know that he has this history, get in this situation
Yes.
again,
Yes.
and then convince yourself that it's different, that's dumber.
Yeah. Okay. And so, the questions come up. Why is this different? Why are they going to last? And I felt like none of them really had a real answer. They said like these kind of fluffy things like, oh, well, we really love each other. That's not a reason, And then he says he thinks that it's different. It's going to last because he is a good man. And it's like, are you a different man than the
Right.
ones that, are father to 2 others and left 2 other women? Because you're the same man. So whether that's good or bad, you're the same man. So this is the same man that is very likely to leave the third wife
Right?
and abandon the third child. So I felt like they just didn't really have a good reason why this will be different.
Right. Well, and something that I thought of, it came up. So at one point, they were with his son.
Yes,
his
Daniel.
oldest son from the first
Yes.
wife. And
Right.
this is something I see it's so common, is that he is apparently only allowed to see him at holidays,
Yeah.
which should
sad.
be a gigantic red flag for Emily.
Oh,
that his
yeah,
ex-wife is like, I
absolutely.
do not want you anywhere near my son.
Right.
And she,
How many
of course,
holidays do Russians have?
I don't even know. But she, of course, made that sound like, oh, that's the ex-wife's fault for being so mean, instead of thinking, what could he have possibly done? That
Right.
the ex-wife was like, you need to stay away.
And then the courts would allow it.
Right. Well, I don't know. I have no idea how
Russian
custody,
seems like a free-for-all with, yeah.
how Russian custody courts work.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think that's why I asked, do Russians have a lot of holidays? I don't know. Maybe the holiday every other week. And then it's
Right.
like not that big
Well,
of a deal that you only see them on holidays.
If it's a day you drink vodka, then every day's a holiday.
Right. But I mean, if it's like America, we have like, what, 8 holidays through the year?
10 federal
Like
holidays.
not 10 federal holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that means you only get to see them 10 times a year, which I guess is like once a month-ish. But
Well, and I
there's
mean-
definitely a few like holidays where it's like far between.
If we're saying federal holidays, that means you also get to, I'm counting President's Day. Like,
Oh gosh. Yeah. They probably have an equivalent to that.
I'm sure they do.
Right. So then she's on video chat with Betsy, the sister, who's asking her the questions that everybody else, is
Should be
probably
asking her, and she
thinking.
should have the answers to, and still doesn't.
Yeah. And then saying, Betsy asks if, she had thought about any of this when they got pregnant. And I was thinking, oh, Betsy, poor naive Betsy. This wasn't planned.
Oh, no.
No, they did not think about this when they were getting pregnant.
When they say that, when she says, did you think about this when you were getting pregnant? It means, did you think about this when you decided to keep the baby? Like, that's what that means. Right?
It was dark, Mr. O.
Which is why they say, did you think about this when you decided to get pregnant?
Oh, goodness. So then all of a sudden, Emily is so dramatic and she's dizzy.
Right.
So then Sasha has to come and get her.
Okay, so I got to back up because I had something noted on here that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
She said, and made a great point, it would be really nice to be able to communicate with the people delivering your baby.
Yes.
Yes. She specifically said, you better learn the Russian word for episiotomy, which is a weirdly specific thing to be worried about.
I thought so too. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, I know what that is.
Oh, yes. Teachable moment.
Okay, so it is a incision made to increase the size of the birth canal when the baby's coming out.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Which
I
is
did not know the medical term for that.
Yeah,
but-
and it's something that most modern doctors actually they advise against doing, and if it's going to be tearing,
Yes.
let it tear. But whatever. It seems like of all the things, like should you learn
Right.
the Russian word for breech birth or the Russian word for C-section, like rather than straight to episiotomy?
Ugh, I know. And I feel like something like that could just be like with your finger motion, snip, snip.
Right.
I think they'll get the point, right?
I would be more worried about the Russian word for epidural.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Let's memorize that one. But at least she says that Sasha's going to be in the room with her, so he can at least be her translator. Hopefully, he knows enough English to be able to understand what she's trying to say, to be able to translate
Right,
it.
because I'm sure he knows all the medical terms and can just...
It doesn't surprise me at all that Emily got with Sasha because he just seems like, to her, a pretty boy.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
He absolutely is.
He's not the brains of the operation, which is another reason why I think Dumb and Dumber when I think of them. So, who knows if he knows any of these medical terms. That is not who you want to hitch your wagon to.
Oh, no. And you're stuck with
No.
him forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she could kind of get away from him. I mean, she could
Yeah,
move
she
back to
could.
the
She could take
States.
the States. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely don't know how that custody law works.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't think they're really it depends on if she just decides to come over here with the baby and, doesn't apply for a visa for him. I don't think there's any rules. I think you have to, I mean, in terms of custody, you can be part of, there's some countries that have agreements with the U.S.
Right.
where you can get, what am I thinking of, child support, and they can somewhat enforce it. But if you're outside of this subset of countries, there's really nothing you
Right.
can do. Because I do have a friend who, her daughter's husband is in Belgium. And I was curious at that point, like when they were figuring things out, and I looked up, you know, is there anything she can do in terms of like enforcing child support? And if you're not part of one of the countries that the U.S. has an agreement with, there's really nothing you can do to enforce any of that. So I would only assume that, you know, if you can't enforce
Even child support.
yeah, child support, that you can't really enforce a custody agreement. Yeah, so. But we are already planning their demise.
Oh yeah, that's not even close. I mean, he's gonna meet another pretty girl. Like that's
Yeah.
so who knows? Well, I imagine we'll also find out why his first two wives left him.
Oh, yeah. That'll be interesting. Okay, so moving on, we have Robert, 42, from Winter Park, Florida, and Annie, 30, from Santiago, Dominican
From
Republic.
DR. Yep.
So
So-
first impressions?
I put gold digger in an empty mine.
Oh, interesting. I put keeping it real.
Real dumb. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe I should have added that.
So-
Real dumb. I had very mixed feelings about Robert.
Yeah.
It was definitely, I had highs and lows,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Because there were parts where at the very beginning I was kind of like, all right, not making the best life decisions. But then there were times where I was like, oh, okay, he's like, you know,
Yeah.
keeping in check. He's controlled the situation. And then
Then
Yeah.
Then no. So
lows and then a high. Yeah. I thought it was funny that they started off with
Mm-hmm.
him bragging about his Uber job and all the celebrities he's met and got to
Right.
rub elbows with. I was like,
Right.
oh my gosh.
including your boy DJ Diesel.
Yes. Shaq. I saw DJ Diesel this summer in Vegas. Good times.
So yeah, they start with that, which Robert rubbed me the wrong way, as he was like somebody who was really trying to force in a lot of slang words, like, you know,
Oh, yo, Shorty is popping. She lit.
yeah. Oh, it was lit, yo. She pop it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Just stop, man, stop, because it just seems really unnatural. Like it seemed forced. And so he did it like repeatedly. Like every one of his segments was him trying to force in.
Right. He is from New York. I think maybe some of it is natural.
Yeah, so it might not even be. I wouldn't even be disinclined to assume that he uses that slang words in his everyday life, but like he was acting at the
Oh, sure.
the face
sure.
so it was his,
definitely
like,
playing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's angling to get onto Pillow Talk after this.
Oh, yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah. So then we meet Bryson, who has a lot of energy.
A lot of
also
energy.
known as Captain Crybaby.
Right. I mean, some
Mom
kids are just like,
left.
he's a stubborn kid, and he's
Yeah.
dealing with mom just up and left him. Like, it's going to be a
Right.
tough situation for that kid.
You know what I always kind of wondered about stuff like that? Whenever parents say, like, oh, my kid has so much energy, I always think, like, why don't you just make them run a whole bunch? Like, is there any, like, can we have kids run a marathon? I think they would be, like, really tired if you just made them run a whole
But
lot.
that's the thing. They don't express the energy the way we want them to. You're like, go outside and run. And they go, okay. And they go outside the door and slam and flop on the ground and scream at you and kick the door. And you're like you can't get them to run.
Well, no, but I mean, like, let's do a program where, like, forces them to run.
They no, because a lot of times the kids that have the most energy like that are also the most stubborn, and they just will
Yeah.
not listen to anything you say.
Well, this one definitely looks stubborn.
Not here to do. Oh, definitely
Yeah.
stubborn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bryson was definitely stubborn. So, so they talk about how they actually meet in person. First of all, they met through a mutual friend online, it sounded like. And
Yeah, that's what it sounded
then he plans a cruise. Convenient because he's in Florida. Doesn't have to fly anywhere. So
Right.
they only have an 8-hour stop in the DR. So he meets her is feeling it, proposes to her without a ring.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to ask, why did you do that? And he says, what the hell? Mind your business.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
But he wants to do it real. See, that's the kind of thing. It's like, he wouldn't say, what the hell, mind your business. Like, come on, man. Oh. Yeah, but so already, like, and then they come back later and they have a whole, he's video chatting and Bryson's there. And this is the couple that is the opposite of Michael and Juliana. Because, like, Michael seemed very, like, no, I expect no mothering from her at all.
Oh, right.
And Robert was like, well, yeah, she's going to help me take care of Bryson. I was like, is she?
Yeah.
Does she know anything about doing that?
Yeah. But I think the big difference between the two is that Michael's ex-wife is still in the picture and she is actively taking care of these kids, whereas Robert is by himself and he's just like, I need relief.
He needs help.
This kid's crazy.
Right.
You know, I need someone to help.
But I don't know. Yeah. The person who helps, trying to get somebody to both help you and be a romantic partner is really, really hard. Those are both two separate, and that bring, you know, that idea of trying to be a romantic partner and co-parent with somebody. That's a dynamic that tears a lot of like established like relationships apart.
Sure,
let alone ones you're just trying to get off the ground.
Right. Yeah, so let's get back to the ring now. So he doesn't have a ring ready for her when he proposes because it was, you know, just like Tom. He was just feeling the moment.
He was just feeling the moment on the beach.
Yep, feeling the moment. So he just, you know, proposed. So now they're trying to figure out the ring situation. So she wants a ring as soon as she gets there.
Right.
He thinks
and
a nice
iPhone.
Ring.
She wants a ring and an iPhone.
Yep. Only one of these things can happen. But he says a nice ring to him is equal to 1 month's salary. I was like, what happened to the 3 months rule?
Is it traditionally 3 months? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I can't even. I don't even.
I think it should be a new model. It should be like 5,000 for every year you're together.
5,000 is a lot.
No, I don't think so.
It is to me.
How long does it usually take for people to get engaged?
Like 3 years.
Yes, that is exactly what I think. Yeah.
You go for that. You go for that. I don't spend $50,000 on my car. Like,
that's how much a ring should be, though.
No, I'm not doing that. No. See, this is why we're not together.
Because I want a $15,000 ring.
$15,000. Oh my God. That's more. Oh, that's not 3 months of my salary though. Not to get too, put too much out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our salary is public record. I mean, people don't know who we are exactly.
Right.
But yeah, $15,000. That's like 3 months' salary. Mm-hmm. That's legit.
No, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should. Yup. So she says that his love is cheap. That's what it means if she doesn't get a nice ring. Because he was trying to negotiate prices with her.
Right.
I thought it was nice that he kind of stood up for himself because I feel like in some ways, I feel like he's not going to let himself be used. Yeah. And that, to me, I thought was a positive thing, but then it kind of went downhill from there.
Right. I mean, it's gonna be a struggle with it. And that's why I called her, said the gold digger, because she expects things. And he's like, I'm a single dad who's an Uber driver trying to raise a kid. Like, I cannot get a $15,000 ring. Like, that's
right.
Not in
Unless
the cards,
DJ
lady.
Diesel is throwing some huge tips around.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, this
isn't happening.
Yeah. And he's like on his 6-year-old Moto, and she's like, I need an iPhone. He's like, I'm on a 6-year-old Moto. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So this is where the wheels come off for me. So Annie is like, really wants an iPhone. So he says, okay, you want an iPhone? Well, I'm not getting you an iPhone, but I'm going to get you some lingerie instead. Because that is, that's like a good consolation prize. And I just feel like that's so selfish. It's like that's something that you're really buying for you. You want her to wear it for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. The iPhone is selfish on her part, but you're going to, switch it for something that's, like, for you. Buy yourself an iPhone if you really feel that way.
The shop lady at the lingerie store, specifically said that. She's like, it would be nice if, guys came in here and bought something that the woman would enjoy, but they never do. He said, I want something that she looks great in. And it's like, well, okay, that's for you.
And he's like, I know what I like.
Yeah.
You know?
And then she
It
said,
was
what
funny.
size is she? And he's like, I don't know.
I think that's typical guys, though. But I thought it was really
Especially
funny.
when
She
you
kept
only
on
met
saying,
for
like,
8 hours. Yeah.
right. She's like, got it. Like, every time, it was like she's trying to cut him off, like, too much information. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted something that we can stop. Just stop.
Yep. I know exactly what you want. It's over there on the other side of the store. Get away from me. Yeah. So, yes, I agree that definitely the gold digger comes out when she sends him like 500 angry emojis.
Oh my God. The angry. Listen,
It was so unreasonable.
it was ridiculous. I got messaging with my kids and they're like 10. And like the second day I had a phone, so one of them did that to me. And I was like, I will take this phone away.
So help me.
Do that again. That is just
Was it angry emojis?
so juvenile.
Why are your kids getting mad at you?
No, it was. I took away something or made him go to bed or something. It was like, like I'm so mad.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, nope. I don't think it was
Oh
that. I
my
don't think it was the
goodness.
red-faced angry emoji. I think it was the one that has like steam coming out of its ears or something. But
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's still annoying. But the way he explained it, it sounded like it was her mistake. Like he sent the money, she just couldn't access the money because she didn't have the proper identification with her.
right,
And so it sounded like it was her fault, but then she's sending him a bazillion angry emojis like it's his fault.
right, yeah. You didn't send the money. You didn't send the money. He's like, I sent.
Right.
And from the way he was and the way he talked, he knows that money left his account. Like he's not that kind of person that doesn't know
Right,
where the
right.
money left his account. So he knows the money's gone. So, but yeah, it was her issue, and like she wasn't even listening to that. Like if I don't have the money, it's clearly your fault. So that's a red flag too.
Yes. And, thank God. And this is where Robert kind of redeems himself a little bit for me. He says, at least he recognizes a red flag when he sees one. I'm like, thank you. At least one of you do.
She was spamming him with red flags. Like she was red. It was red face emojis, but it
Oh,
was
yeah,
still.
I guess it was hard
might
to
as well-
ignore, huh?
It might have been red flag, red flag, red flag.
Right. So, interesting. But yeah, this is an interesting group. I think we'll have a lot to hear from them, and we're missing actually 2 couples this week.
Right.
I don't know who it's the Ukrainian couple, the ones from Ukraine. I didn't catch their names.
No, I didn't
because I
either.
intentionally tried to not find out too much about the couples, so that way we could do these first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Angela and Michael next week.
Oh, and no, there's 3 because there's the Finn.
Oh, I missed that entirely.
Yeah. So there's a woman from Finland and a woman from Ukraine.
Oh, okay. I definitely missed the Finnish lady. But so on the previews for next week, Angela is shown getting Botox. And I'm thinking, girl, Botox is preventative. Like, you are past that. You know, like, it's to prevent you from getting wrinkles. It's not supposed to do anything with the wrinkles you currently have. So I just felt like that was so unnecessary. And just as a teachable moment, if you want to undo your wrinkles, you need to get collagen fillers or fillers of whatever, other kinds. But Botox only freezes your face to prevent you from wrinkling, so it's not going to change the wrinkles you already have.
Wow, that's more than I knew.
Yes.
So teachable moment.
Well, I have a bunch of friends who actually work at Allergan, so I know from them, not because I get anything done. The thought of injecting anything in my face scares me.
Yeah, especially botulism.
Yeah, that's a thing too. Yeah. But I don't judge other people. I mean, my friends, the ones that get their stuff done at through work at Allergan, their stuff is really good. Like it's very natural looking. But I think it also depends on your race too.
Sure, I can see that.
Yeah, because I have some friends that are starting to look Darcy-like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I have other friends that are not white, and theirs looks much more natural. So I don't know what the science behind that is, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Darcy's bigger problem is the fillers, especially in the lips.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I just feel like sometimes that's a bit of a like people get too skinny. It's like you get used to what you look like, and you're like, it needs to be more, and you get used to that, and it needs to be more.
Right. I definitely feel like a lot of these women have like a body dysmorphia because it's like they don't really realize that they're going too far. And, you know, when we all think they've gone too far, it's like they think it isn't good enough. And so it just, the train keeps chugging along. So, okay. So this week, student of the week. Who do you have?
All right. I like Michael's kid, Max. He's my student of the week.
Yeah.
He just seemed to be more aware of the situation than Michael of what was going on, how people would think. So I liked him. He seemed positive. Like it was a weird situation that's going on with him, and he was keeping it light and keeping it positive. So good for him.
Right. So going along with student of the week being one of the fringe characters, I said Jamie. Anna's wine drinking friend. I said that she is a hero for getting Anna to realize that Marcel is really a stranger to her boys and that she really barely knew him before getting engaged. And it is kind of sad that Anna was like, I hadn't thought about that before. It's like, oh my gosh, how have you not thought about this before? But how many times have we seen a friend kind of confront another friend and they're still not getting the message or the point at the end of it? So at least Jamie was able to get Anna to realize that some of her decisions were questionable at best.
Right. Well, every couple seemed to have a voice of reason segment. And that was, yes. I agree. She was the most reasonable voice of reason.
Yeah. Okay, what about class dunce? So my class dunce is Emily. Emily, how can you not realize that Sasha is living in this pattern and that it is very likely that wife 4 and child 4 is going to be followed soon after you give birth? Right.
It's tricky. I'm gonna go with Robert just for trying too hard with the slang words. He very much sounded like the meme of Steve Buscemi with the skateboard. It's like, hello, fellow kids. Like, just dial it back a little bit and, sound a little bit more natural. But
all right, life lesson.
No, you go first if you have it.
Okay, so my life lesson is that no one needs challenges in a healthy relationship. There's a difference between challenging each other to be better people and then having conflict in your relationship to make it interesting. And I feel like people who say they want challenges in a relationship are really kind of addicted to this drama and kind of the highs and lows. And it's almost like you have to experience these dramatic lows to get the opposite, like these highs in the relationship. And it's just not healthy. And so that is directly related to Anna's theory that challenges is what she needs in a relationship. It's like, no, not in a healthy one.
So mine is more based a life lesson for the show. And that's with Angela. I really feel like the show is playing with fire and she's going to get arrested and she's going to get in a lot of trouble. And it's going to come back into the show and be like, why was this woman on your show who was clearly an abusive, violent person?
She's definitely, abusive. In so many dimensions, too.
Right. It's only a matter of time because when she was doing the thing, I was like, she was trying to apply when she was going nutso with the tell-all. Yeah. If she's trying to apply for a visa, I imagine it's probably harder to get one if you have a criminal record.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the sponsor has a criminal record. And so just cut ties with people who are abusive like that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I was kind of surprised, too, that she has continued to be on. I mean, her other daughter, whose name is escaping me at the moment, she was on the show the first season that Angela was on, and now she's in jail for pedophilia. So it's kind of like, this is not exactly your model citizen family here. Well,
and one of the rumors I heard was that at the tell-all that wasn't in the scene is before she got all crazy, somebody had mentioned that daughter. And somebody had mentioned that, why isn't your other daughter here? And then she went
crazy.
That put her over the edge. Yeah.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. Because, I mean, she is kind of mama bear like that. So, yeah. That would be interesting to see how that exactly played out You know, because I feel like you're hearing so many different facets of it at this point.
Right.
Yeah, but so next week it'll be interesting. So we have the next episode of 90 Day Fiancé, and then since we are missing a show, Mr. O and I have decided, yes.
We're down to only 2 hours of content. Jeez.
Oh, I know. How am I going to fill the other hours of my week? So we decided to go back and we're going to do 90 Day Classic. So that will be season 1. We're going to cover episodes 1 and 2. All right. Bye.